I'm Jessica Mikowski, mindset coach, co-founder of Yogi Triathlete, and host of the Awake Athlete podcast. Welcome to Season 6, The Road to El Cruce. This season is a living documentary, my journey to a 3-day 100K stage race through the wild terrain of Patagonia. It's not just about endurance training, it's about exploring the mental, emotional, and spiritual edges that shape us. There's no set schedule. Episodes will drop as the layers peel back. My hope is that in hearing my story, you remember your own strength and your own path home. This is me showing up in real time, and I am all in. I'm so glad you're with me. Welcome to episode 1, the official kickoff to season 6 of the Awake Athlete podcast. Super excited about this season, which is good because I am kicking off a whole season and I don't even know how many episodes are going to be in this season. But what I will promise you is that I'm going to make good on what I said in the intro, which is leaning into the mental, emotional, and spiritual edges that shape us. I love a good finish line. I love finishing strong. I love passing people to advance my final finish placement. I love all that stuff. But that's a part of why I am an endurance athlete. It has been such a fast track for my growth mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And it feels very purposeful to me to be endeavoring El Cruce, which is the unknown for me. I've never done a 3-day mountain ultra stage race, ever. I've done stage events before in Costa Rica. I've done 2 5-day cycling challenges, which were amazing. Like, that was such a big endeavor. And this is a big endeavor, and I respect it, and I'm excited about it. And the physiology of my body and your body doesn't know the difference between fear and excitement. It has the same response. So there's a little bit of that in there too. And I like that because that little bit of like fear keeps me awake. And in that state of being awake, that's when I see the mental, emotional, and spiritual edge. And I see how I respond to that so that I can continue to grow and evolve. So I do hope that sharing my story lights something within you. Yeah, that's the whole goal, right? And this is a living documentary. So no agenda, no episode schedule. We'll just see how it all lands. All right, so where are we going to start? I think we should start exactly where I am. Right now, it's Sunday morning. I'm about to actually hit the trails, but I just got inspired to fire up the mic and get this first episode recorded. I am in the final day of week 7 of my first 8-week foundation block. So I've been building strength, I've been rebuilding volume, and 100% leaning into the edge of all the things. So let's see, May, BJ and I sat down on a Friday and we brought this skeleton plan together. The overall structure and flow has remained the same each week, but as you will hear, like there's been some interruptions and it's all about flexibility, how I'm showing up in the day, how my body is absorbing the work, which is everything about how I'm recovering for the work, which has everything to do with how I'm showing up for these training sessions, even when I don't want to. So some of the session details will shift, but as we coach day to day. And let me just give you the weekly layout that I've been doing for the last 7 weeks. So this is what we came up with. And I'll just go through it pretty simple. Monday, our training schedule always starts on a Monday. On Monday, I'm in the gym for about an hour, and then I have a 30-minute run. Monday tends to be a bit of an active recovery day. So this 30-minute run is no pressure. If I am just beat from the weekend, which I have been, and I don't feel like I'm fully recovered yet, or that running is going to put me over that edge, then I'll walk. And I've exercised that at least once in this 7-week block. And then yoga. Tuesdays, I do a spicy swim, 75 to 90 minutes. And then I have an hour neuromuscular ride on the trainer and then yoga again. Monday and Tuesday, I teach yoga. So those are kind of non-negotiables. Those are always going to be on the schedule as of right now. And the neuromuscular ride has been incredible because the neuromuscular ride is essentially varying my cadence on the trainer from 90 to over 110 revolutions per minute. After a long weekend, Monday being active recovery, getting that spark to get the leg turnover has been incredibly valuable. That's what I've been seeing over these 7 weeks. Wednesdays, hills. I do that about an hour. And then I'm back in the gym and then yoga again. I actually have 2 sessions of yoga on Wednesdays, one shorter than the other. Thursdays, I'm on the trail. 75 minutes. This has been like no pressure and just enjoying nature. What I've been focusing on is getting really strong at hiking up hills. Because when I look at a mountain ultra over the course of 3 days, I'm going to need to be very efficient on the uphills. I'm not going to be running everything. So I'm practicing that while I'm on the trails. Practicing my downhill skills. Of course, you can gain so much time with your downhill skills, and then running on the flats. Then Friday, back in the gym. Although Fridays have been a TRX session at home, which is about 35 minutes. Then I am on the bike again for an hour for VO2 intervals. So Friday, I am really starting to cook up the legs going into the weekend, which is very purposeful. Saturday, long ride, 4 to 6 hours. The only description on that ride is lots of climbing. And I've been doing that about 7,000 feet, over 7,000 feet each Saturday, which has been spicy. Sunday, back on the trail, 2 to 3 hours. Because my Saturday workouts have been on the heavier side, I've been leaning into 2 hours. That's, I think, what I'm going to do today. And again, time on the legs, climbing, getting really efficient at climbing, getting really skillful at descending. And yeah, just getting out there in nature. That's, I think, something that I just love so much about trail running. And to tell you the truth, we lived in Boulder for 10 years. And I looked at those trails. We lived really close to the Flatirons, and I looked at those trails and I was on them a little bit and I craved trail running, but I was so scared. I was scared of mountain lions. I was really, really scared of mountain lions, and it kept me off the trail. And I was aware of that. This is pre-meditation days, but we moved away, and I remember thinking like, man, I got to get on those trails. And so now here I am, and I just absolutely love being on the trail. It's like medicine. It's just being out in nature, and I love stopping and hearing nothing. It's incredible. I feel like I have really taken my connection with nature to the next level. And that started, it's been building, right? But in February of this year, after I led a yoga adventure down in Patagonia, Chile, I went into the wilderness for, I think it was like 6 or 7 days, off the grid completely, just me. And found and experienced a peace that you just don't come back from. I mean, it doesn't mean that my life hasn't been topsy-turvy. It is. That's how life is. But I will never forget that peace that I felt around day 4 and 5 of that trip. And the interesting thing is, about 3 days in, I just felt my mind going, okay, we're rested, we're restored, like we're good, we're peaceful, like, okay, like we don't need to be here. And I sat there for like 3 more days. It was so profound. I just thought like, no, girl, you're here. Like, let's see what level we can hit. It was quite extraordinary. Highly recommend the cabin in the middle of nowhere by yourself. It's amazing to go with friends. It's wonderful to go with a partner, but there's something incredibly profound and transformational that happens when you're there by yourself. And I would just lie there on the couch, and the whole front of this cabin like opened up. It was like a big door. And I would just lie there for like hours, just staring at the trees and the mountain peaks. It was was crazy. And I kept checking with myself. I was like, okay, no alcohol. Like I didn't have anything in my body that would make it like extra cool. It was just me completely, the way I would sum it up is me completely being accepted in a way that I had never felt before. So that was pretty profound. Okay, so I jumped into this plan on Monday, May 12th, and I got 2 solid weeks of training in before I headed back east to spend some time with my mom. And she just needs a little more support these days. My dad made his transition out of this life back in March, and that is a whole crazy, traumatic, insane experience. I think that really unfolded over like a couple of years, just a lot to hold. Really, life can get really intense, you know? So going back and spending some time with her, she misses him so much. But she's a busy lady. She's 92 and she runs me ragged, and it was exhausting. And so I thought going into it like, okay, I'll just take this as a down week, because BJ and I had talked about, all right, let's go 3 weeks and then we'll assess on the 4th week if you need to take volume down. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just do that when I'm back east. And I just felt this like this inner whatever saying, get your runs done, like get the work done. And so I listened to it. And I focused that week on running, yoga, and strength, just body strength, you know, squats and push-ups and things like that. So I didn't want to run every day. There was, in fact, one day that I really, really didn't want to run. I could just feel like, oh God, I don't want to run. And I stopped. And I think this is where the mindfulness is so important as an athlete. I was able to see all of that. I was realizing like, hold on a second. There's nothing wrong with you. You are healthy. The weather was beautiful. Just go out there and run. And in this realization of like, you don't have to love every run. In fact, it's beneficial not to love every run, because it's about showing up in a steady state despite what you feel like or don't feel like doing. And that steady state is found in presence. And I remember that day in particular, just being like, going out and starting the run. And in my mind, the mantra was like, this step, this step, this step, this step, this step, this step. And then something else I've been doing when the mind, you know, has been chewing on something or creating drama, you know, and it's really getting in the way of my workout and happiness in my life. And I did that this day on this run, was using my senses. So our minds live through our senses, what we see, taste, hear, touch, and smell. So a great way to break a neural pattern, like a looping, you know, or this like, well, I don't want to run, is what am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I smelling? What am I tasting? What am I touching? And just looping through that. Now you're breaking a pattern and you're present because you're engaging with what's happening right now. And I'm so glad that I got those runs done, because when I got back, I got so sick. I mean, so sick. BJ was traveling back east for Ironman 70.3 Western Mass, which sidebar, he did amazing. He's been a frequent visitor to the Ironman podium. And I remember many years ago that being a dream. Like, could you imagine if I could ever podium at an Ironman? And it started, you know, with like top 5. I remember he got that back in Santa Cruz. He got 5th place. It was like such a milestone. And now he's getting like, he's 3rd place at Ironman Lake Placid last year, 3rd place at Ironman 70.3 Western Massachusetts this year. And then he's got a huge goal for Ironman Arizona, which maybe you can guess at. But my husband is incredible. He truly is a master. And I'm sure I'm going to talk about him a lot. But let's get back to my training, the road to El Cruce. I got so sick. I dropped BJ off. I felt like I was repressing it. I dropped BJ off at the airport Tuesday morning and just started dying for 3 days. I was getting worse and worse and worse. It was this really interesting trajectory of just getting worse, to the point where I was like, I have no other choice. I just need to surrender and lie down. And up until then, I was feeling a little off on that Monday prior to him leaving. And granted, and take, again, this is my now 4th official week in an 8-week training block. Okay. And I'm completely down and out. I did everything that I could leading into it, like all the workouts I could do in those couple of days where I was starting to feel like a heavier level of fatigue and just like imbalance. But then I just fully surrendered. I was really sick. Like at one point I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, like, am I dying? Is this what it feels like? Like, take me now. Because what I was feeling was so intense. It was all my heart and my throat. And when I look at that from a spiritual perspective or a yogic perspective, I look at the heart chakra and I look at the throat chakra. And then I feel gratitude because I think I am burning off all those nasty moments when I've closed my heart to myself, to others, to life. And then the throat is all about truth and authenticity and communication. And it's like, I am burning off all those lies, all that stuff that wasn't who I am, and finding more and more of who I am. I think endurance sports is the fast track to that. I think anybody who has endeavored an endurance event has realized, I mean, this is why Yogi Triathlete exists, that we must transcend body and mind to finish what we started. And through that, I have been more and more in touch with this part of me that is beyond body and mind. And when I looked at that sickness or that illness that was moving through me, I was seeing a new part of me being born. And the other piece of the gratitude was being so fit and so healthy. I can't imagine having navigated something so nasty if I didn't have that level of fitness. And I think that level of fitness didn't come from, the 3 weeks prior of training. It came from 2 decades. I mean, even more than that. I grew up in a very healthy household. I was very blessed. We exercised, we did all those things. But 2 decades as an endurance athlete, consistent. In those 2 decades, there have been 2 years separate. Like, I think they were separated by like 7 or 8 years where I just took off. Like, I took off from training and I focused on yoga, like 5-6 days a week, and walking. And those years were so beautiful. And they just gave me that exhale and that pause that I needed to reevaluate and then get back in. So consistency is everything. That's what has allowed me to jump into an 8-week training block, which was pretty legit amount of volume, 4 to 6 hour ride on a Saturday. If I was coming from an inconsistent training regimen, I wouldn't have been able to jump up into that safely, and smart. I want to be smart as an athlete. I think what is really interesting is, in the world of yoga, which has been such a transformative thing in my life. I mean, I often say that if it wasn't for yoga, I'd probably be serving multiple life sentences in a maximum security prison because I have a lot of fire and I didn't know how to control that fire. And so I've had a lot of reactions and a lot of, I was never scared of a good fight. And I've learned to channel that, and I'm not perfect and I'm still learning, and that fire burns really, really strong. But a lot of times I think in the yoga world, you kind of see this ungroundedness, everything's okay. It's all fine. It's not all fine. There's hell on this earth. There's evil on this earth. There's joy on this earth. There's beauty on this earth. There's all the things. And when I look at being an awake athlete and I look at this term enlightenment, I take the definition that I heard from Salish Rao, who is the founder of, I think it's called Climate Healers. Really intelligent guy. I heard him speak once. He had a very, very important piece of developing the internet, like super smart dude. But I sat on a panel with him once for an event that I was a speaker at. And he talked about enlightenment. He said, enlightenment is the ability to see the world as it is without judgment, right? Steady state. To accept all that's here, feel all that's here, feel the the awful things that are happening, like we can't turn a blind eye, but we got to learn how to feel and to transmute, because we can't create or destroy energy, but we can transform it. And that, to me, is what endurance sports paired with the science of the mind, yoga, really allows us to work towards. And that has been the biggest game changer in me as an endurance athlete. Yoga came before endurance for me, which is interesting. And the two together really warranted further investigation. And I realized for me and for those who have found this way of training and racing, which we coin holistic performance, there is no other way, because it transcends the trail run. It transcends the mat. It transcends the nutrition choices. It just permeates all facets of your life and relationships, and never more so than the relationship with yourself. So, all right, where are we? Got really sick. And then I came back to life, right? So I've had these kind of like detours that have been happening. And what did I come up against? Let's look at that. The mental piece of like, oh my God, I'm getting sick. Oh my God, I'm falling behind. Oh my God, like I'm going to lose all my fitness. I work so hard, like, and then getting into the pause. I'm not immune to these thoughts. I'm not immune to being pissed because I don't feel good. I'm not immune to that. How I respond to that is what makes the difference. And I think the way that I responded to this was kind of like I pushed the edge a little bit, because that's who I am. Got like a gym workout in, got some yoga in, saw some clients as I was like muting myself to cough. I do that. That's who I am. But I think the way that I responded to it with just like, okay, shift gears, right? Reframe, shift. Let's put on some movies. Let's crawl into bed. Let's be with Clark. Let's be grateful that your husband's not here. You'd be coughing all over him, because not only did he have a huge race, he had a huge event that he was doing at the yoga studio that I used to teach at in Rhode Island. And the last thing he needed was to be sick. So there was so many things that I could be grateful for. And this isn't positive thinking. I wasn't positive thinking over negativity. I'm sure we're going to get into that at some point in this season. Just positive thinking doesn't work. You have to be connected to the state of being from within, because that is the sponsoring thought or vibration to everything that you're thinking and doing. You have to go in and you have to clean up that inner house to really get to know what's going on in there. So shifting to that steady state and just being like, okay, this is it. Just let it go. There's going to be times like in August when it's 95 degrees and you're on the trail and you're going to be dying and all you wish you could be doing is lying in a cool bed with a movie. There are going to be those times. So the mental, the emotional of like, oh my God, I am absolutely alone in this house and I'm so sick and there's no one to take care of me and I have to go to the store by myself, and that little poor me thing coming in. And then looking at, I'm safe. I have food in the fridge. I have a roof over my head. I have the most amazing golden retriever in the world who wants to take care of his mom. And grateful that I didn't have anyone around me because I was that sick and I felt very, very contagious, if you know what I mean. And then spiritual, right? I think I touched upon that already. Just this cleansing. I just kept thinking like I'm stepping into this next level of who I am. And the way I describe it to my athletes and my mindset clients that I work with, actually just had a couple sessions this week. We were talking about this exact thing. Is that all of this stuff is coming up for them, these old patterns that they realize they're getting like new eyes on these old patterns of like negative self-talk, let's say, or jealousy of other people. And they're realizing like, this is the same feeling I had when I was 14 years old. And they're also in a place where they're stepping into like a big unknown, or they're doing a big event, or they're advancing, really big in their career. And this is the same thing that happened to me leading into El Cruce. I say to them, because I'm living this myself, it's like where you're going, these old things can't go with you. So I think it's either Rumi or Lao Tzu who said, the cost of your new life is your old life. And so there are times where you are literally going to feel like you're dying, but that's because you're stepping into new skin. And that's what I did. when I was sick, and I feel really good now. I felt like I had life force coming back into the body about a week in, and started to do some light training. And now I feel like a lighter version of myself. Now, is this the destination? Heck no. I'm going to have so many more obstacles and things that get in the way of what I want in this life. I have strong desire. So I know that I'm always going to keep growing, and so are you. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to grow. We're here to evolve. Everything is always changing. Even from the start of this podcast to now, like we've had cells in our body die and birth, and we've changed. Everything is always changing, and our ability to change and flow with that is everything to our success, not only in endurance sports, but as humans on this earth. So let's see. I think we're already about 20 or so minutes in, so let's wrap this up. I think in whatever's resonating for you in this episode, please take that and leave the rest and let me know what you want me to dive into. I'm thinking nutrition will be a good one, and I'm probably going to dive into that in episode 2 unless something big shows up and I need to talk about that instead. But I have no idea how this is all going to unfold. But I know from a spiritual perspective that I just burned away some old alignments that no longer serve me. And there's something there that is big to celebrate. And they say that everything prepares you for the next thing. There's always a next thing. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for being able to offer these intimate shares and this vulnerable perspective in the form of the podcast. And the only thing I have control over is my intent for this, which is to empower you to take that next step into the unknown. Again, let me know what you want to hear about. There's so many lessons and inspirations. Each day we have to just slow down to take in those fine details of life, and the clarity that endurance gives me is just another level of what I love. And it gives me, these long workouts give me time to sift and sort, which is what I'm going to go do on the trails right now. So thank you for joining me on this journey, and let's keep moving forward together and see what unfolds when we stay the course and we stay awake. This show is brought to you by Yogi Triathlete, because you were born for more than just pushing through. We've been leading the way in holistic performance since the beginning, body, mind, and spirit. So thanks for tuning in. Stay awake, stay the course, and I'll meet you back here soon.